Let's take a look at Solo: A Star Wars Story. I tried to film a traditional review for this movie, but I found that it doesn't really work because there's a lot of thoughts that I have about it, some of which are spoiler territory. So I want to do something different. Let's sit down, let's kind of talk a little bit more about specific things that I think worked really, really well and other things which did not work at all and were kind of a big mistake for a Star Wars movie to do. So Solo, as you may know, was directed by Ron Howard. It stars Alden Ehrenreich as a young Han Solo, who I did think actually did a really good job. He's taken on a role that has become so synonymous with one actor, Harrison Ford. Recasting any film or television role that has become so synonymous with one person, how they look, how they walk and talk, how they behave in this world, I think that Alden did a really good job because he gets into, okay, this is a young version of this character. I'm not going to just do a Harrison Ford impression. What Alden does here is he goes into, all right, Han is going to be much more fun. He's going to be a much more arrogant sort of person who is willing to just dive headlong into something and not care about the consequences. That's contrasted by the Han Solo we meet in the original Star Wars, where he just doesn't want to get involved in anything. He just wants to live his own life. Here, he's willing to go that extra mile. There's other cast members who did very well in their roles. I actually really liked Emilia Clarke as Kira. She plays this very deceptive kind of character, one who is knowing exactly where she's come from. She's from the streets of Corellia, just like Han Solo. They have a past with each other, but they get separated and she goes into a much deeper, more darker world of these criminal organizations. And that shapes her into this kind of lethal weapon who, when she meets Han Solo again after several years, it brings back feelings of, oh no, this guy, he brings something out of me that I don't think I want to explore. I want to keep going with where I am because that's safe. Emilia Clarke plays that very well. She was probably my favorite kind of new character from this movie. Yes, we have Donald Glover as well as Lando, who is just amazing. He is so charismatic. He is just so energetic. He's so dedicated to the role, which you do understand from watching any interviews of Donald Glover talking about this movie. He has a great relationship with L3, played by Phoebe Waller-Bridger. She is a really, really cool new droid. There's a lot of stuff that I enjoyed in this movie. There's particular sequences that show Han Solo in action, especially how he interacts with Chewbacca, which are some of my favorite kind of Han and Chewie moments that I can possibly imagine. There's things that we've always heard about Han and Chewie doing in the past, and we finally get to see them, and they're pretty great. And then together, flying the Millennium Falcon, doing the actual Kessel Run, we get to see what that really was like. That is all really exciting stuff. This is meant to be closer to a space western adventure heist film. I think that those elements work for the movie when it goes into more of the heist parts of it. Yeah, it's pretty fun because heist movies usually are pretty fun. You just add blasters and there you go. That's what this movie is. Those were my favorite moments when you see all this craziness outside and Han is remaining calm. He's collected. He knows exactly the way forward. That, to me, is Han Solo. This is where we head into the problems of this movie. The first two acts I really, really enjoyed. There's a couple of stuff in the early parts of the movie which are, well, we'll talk about them in spoilers. The first two acts of this movie were fun. They get you on board with the story. Okay, here is point A, point B, this is where we're going, this is who these characters are, how they're all interacting with each other, these are the events, the action sequences, and then it hits the third act, and this is where it starts to fall apart. It starts getting way too complex. People are double-crossing each other left, right, and center, and you have no idea who is really meant to be working for who and what their point is. It just kind of feels like stuff that's happening on screen. There's no logic behind it. It's really, really unnecessary. This movie could have ended in a very simple way. It could have given us something brand new. It could have ended probably about 10, 15 minutes earlier, and I wouldn't have batted an eye. This movie starts to feel really, really long once you hit that climax. And that's also very disappointing because for every Star Wars movie, we at least will get a really exciting third act. Even if it is one of the prequels. Or if you're the people out there that don't like Rogue One or don't like The Last Jedi, you have to admit the third acts of all of those movies are actually not that bad. Especially look at Phantom Menace. Sure, people may say that that's the worst Star Wars movie, but the final act of that movie features one of the greatest lightsaber battles in the whole franchise. That's what you get out of Star Wars, or at least that's what you should get, but Solo doesn't do that. And I think that's really disappointing. If you don't want to know some of my thoughts about particular spoilers for this movie, I'll give you my grading right now, and you can just stop watching this video. So I will give Solo, a Star Wars story.
I'd say a solid B-.
There's a few things that affected how I saw this movie, that changed how I felt about it in particular points. This movie opens and it feels pretty exciting. I'm on board with it. But we get to see something that I never, ever thought was actually going to be a thing in Star Wars, or at least ever be a thing for Han Solo. We find out that his last name was really made up by an Imperial officer. He goes to sign up to the Imperial Academy and he asks him, "What's your last name?" And he doesn't say anything. And the officer asks, "Who's your people?" And he says, "I have no people. I'm alone." So the Imperial officer jots in, "Okay then, Han Solo." What? What? That's so dumb. That's as dumb as a thing as you'd find in any of the bad expanded universe books from the 90s with Star Wars. But it pushes forward. It keeps going. We get Woody Harrelson's character, who I thought was fine. And at the end, he betrays everyone. It's like, yeah, I know, I get that, because you said don't trust anybody. And he has the usual thing of, I said for you not to trust anybody. That means me as well. No shit. Okay, fine. He's very much a throwaway character. Didn't really care for him. He was played fine. But the movie keeps going on, and there's double crosses and betrayals, and I really can't recap any of that because there's just so much that goes on, and I really don't understand a lot of it. And then this movie hits one more point, and that is a revelation that the criminal organization that Kira and Paul Bettany's character works for is actually run by Darth Maul. And at first, I was shocked of, oh my god, you actually put Darth Maul in a new live-action Star Wars movie? That's fantastic. Wait, no, hang on, that doesn't make any sense, because if you are like me and you've watched the entirety of Clone Wars and Rebels, you will know that us seeing him in this movie, in this particular time frame of about 10 years before the original Star Wars, this really doesn't make sense because we already know where his character is going. He's going to go onto Tatooine and meet up again for the first time in a long time with Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Obi-Wan kills him. And he dies in Obi-Wan's arms. It's the most perfect end to that character I could have ever imagined. But now Lucasfilm think that it's a smart idea to just do a little bit more with the character, a little bit before Rebels. I don't really care, and the problem is that they throw that out at the very last second. In the final 10 minutes of this movie, it means that there's going to be a sequel to this movie, a movie which I don't think ever needed one, and I don't think anyone was really asking for it. In fact, I don't think anyone was really asking for this movie in general. These Star Wars stories worked better as standalone movies, little tales outside of the greater saga chronology for us to go, oh, this is how this little particular event happened. It worked for Rogue One because there was no other way to end that movie other than this leads directly into A New Hope. There you go, that's fine. But for Solo, they think that they're going to build this extra separate world of Han Solo adventures, and I really think that that is a bad decision. The only reason that I would want one is to see what the hell they're going to do with a Darth Maul character involved in Han Solo stories. Those two things don't really mesh, and that damages how I see this movie. If you just had Kira flying off in her ship to places elsewhere, that could have been a really kind of sadder note, the fact that his first love has actually betrayed him and left him on this planet and doesn't care about him. Yeah, that would have been really great. It also would have made sense for that character. Just ended with Han and Chewie getting the Millennium Falcon, going off to work for Jabba the Hutt. Done. There you go, standalone movie. You don't have to tease it to be, oh, we're going to build this extra world. It's unnecessary. I'm definitely looking forward to episode 9. And the reason being is that it's going to be released about a year and a half from now. We're not going to get it so close to Solo. And that's also the problem, is that Solo comes out so close after The Last Jedi, so we don't have that room to breathe. We need that for Star Wars. Otherwise, we're actually going to feel legitimate fatigue with it. Solo, I enjoyed for the most part. There are some things that I really liked. As I said before, the Kessel Run stuff is great. The visuals for this movie are really, really cool. I love the cinematography by Bradford Young. Really enjoyed the score by John Powell. There's stuff that works and there's stuff that really doesn't. That's how I feel about this movie. I wanted to take a bit of time to really gel on my thoughts for it. And I hope you enjoyed this new kind of video of me sitting down. I think I'm actually going to do this more often. It's a bit more comfortable. So Solo, A Star Wars Story, have you seen it? What did you think about it? What did you think about this review? Let me know in the comments below. If you want more Mr. Movies, click my channel link coming up right here. And thanks for watching.